Hey everybody, welcome into Folklore and Flourish. You're here with Jane over at Blue Box 29. I hope you are having a great week. I always love when Wednesday comes around. It's right in the middle of the week. I feel like you're starting to see some of your weekly projects come to life more so, and you get to see the end is now in sight. So I love Wednesdays. And today, for this week, we have the mirror for our stories today. So, week 3 during the transformation, we have already undergone a few things, a few uncomfortabilities, and today we are at the mirror where our identity is revealed. Arguably, one of the most satisfying and uncomfortable things all at the same time is when we see who we have become and who we are. A lot of the times it's exciting. We finally embraced who we truly can become, and we get to see our reflection of all these trials that we've had and how it's changed us. Sometimes it can be a little sad as well because the person we thought we may become may not be who we became. That doesn't mean that it's good or bad one way or another. But just we learn as we transform that some things cannot come with us on our journey. But today we get the full reflection of who we are. We get to kind of embrace who we are. Some really beautiful ways, some really tragic ways today. But our theme is just identity revealed, and our reflection is a trial today. So today we're going to view that through Japanese, Greek, West African, and Slavic folklore, and we're going to think of what stands inside me. So if we really were to meet the person who we truly are inside right in front of us, it's not just a mirror. Let's say that it's our actual doppelganger, our actual double could stand in front of us. What would we think of ourselves? What would we see? What would we acknowledge? What would we want ourselves to know? But today, we are going to gaze quietly into water or any reflective surface. So if you do have a mirror, I encourage you to do this. I know that there are some customs and practices revolving not using mirrors. That's why I just went with the water reflection, but it does involve other reflections. So, you know what, we're just going to do what we can. We're going to gaze quietly into water or a reflection surface without interpretation. So we're just going to look at it today. We're going to look and move along on our way. And our final thought for today is to accept what is revealed without judgment and allow recognition to deepen resolve. So accept what is revealed without judgment and recognize and allow our recognition to deepen our resolve. So that is our day today for June 17th, the mirror. I hope you enjoyed these 4 stories, and I will see you tomorrow. Remember to think who stands within me. Gaze quietly at a reflection without interpretation today. So enjoy your day, and I'll see you guys later. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Story 1, Amaterasu and the Mirror. Long ago in the high plane of heaven, the sun goddess Amaterasu shone brightly over the world. Her light warmed the earth below, nourished the growing rice, and guided both gods and mortals through the passing days. Wherever her radiance reached, life flourished. Yet peace did not endure, for her brother, Susanoo, the storm god, became consumed by anger and grief. Though Amaterasu welcomed him into the heavenly realm, Susanoo's behavior grew increasingly destructive. He trampled sacred fields, damaged the dwellings of the gods and frightened those who served in the heavenly court. Amaterasu hoped patience would restore harmony, but each day brought greater disorder. At last, Susanoo committed a terrible outrage. Bursting into the sacred weaving hall, he hurled a flayed horse through the roof. Panic swept through the maidens working there, and tragedy followed in the chaos. Overwhelmed by sorrow and disgust, Amaterasu withdrew from the world. She entered the cave called Amano Iwato and sealed herself inside. The moment the stone door closed, darkness spread across heaven and earth. The sun vanished from the sky, crops withered in the fields, cold winds swept across the land, and evil spirits wandered freely beneath the endless night. The gods gathered in concern. They tried many ways to persuade Amaterasu to emerge, but none succeeded. Finally, they devised a clever plan. Before the cave, they hung strings of brilliant jewels from the branches of a sacred tree. They placed a polished bronze mirror where it could catch the slightest glimmer of light. Then the goddess Ame no Uzume climbed upon an overturned tube and began a lively dance. The assembled gods laughed and cheered at her performance until their celebration echoed throughout heaven. Hearing the commotion, Amaterasu grew curious. From within the darkness, she wondered how the gods could rejoice while the world remained without sunlight. Slowly, she opened the cave door and peered outside. "What causes such merriment?" she asked. The gods replied that a deity more magnificent than any other had appeared among them. Curious and unconvinced, Amaterasu stepped forward to look. Before her stood a shining mirror. Gazing into its surface, she saw a radiant figure glowing with beauty and light. Never realizing at first that it was her own reflection, she moved closer. In that moment, the strong god, Ame no Tajikaro, seized the cave door and pulled it wide open. The other gods quickly stretched a sacred rope across the entrance so Amaterasu could not retreat. As she stood among them once more, her light returned to the heavens. Dawn spread across the earth, darkness fled, and the world rejoiced beneath the sun again. Story 2, Narcissus. In the hills and forests of ancient Greece there lived a youth named Narcissus, whose beauty was admired wherever he traveled. Hunters praised his appearance, maidens spoke of him with affection, and many who met him found themselves captivated by his presence. Yet Narcissus cared little for the admiration of others. Proud and distant, he rejected every person who sought his companionship. Among those who loved him was a mountain nymph named Echo. Once she had possessed a lively voice and delighted in conversation, but the goddess Hera had cursed her. From that day forward, Echo could no longer speak her own thoughts. She could only repeat the final words spoken by someone else. Though her heart remained full of feeling, she could not express it freely. One day, Echo saw Narcissus wandering through the forest while hunting. Drawn to him, she followed quietly among the trees. She longed to approach him, but feared her strange condition would prevent her from speaking. As she watched, Narcissus became separated from his companions and called out into the woods. "Is anyone here?" he asked. "Here," Echo replied. Surprised, Narcissus listened for the unseen voice. "Come to me," he called. "Come to me," Echo answered eagerly. At last she stepped from the shadows and reached out to him. Yet Narcissus recoiled. Rather than welcome her affection, he rejected her cruelly and turned away. Heartbroken and ashamed, Echo fled into the mountains. There, she hid among caves and rocky valleys until little remained of her except her voice, which still answered travelers from distant cliffs. Others had suffered similar rejection from Narcissus, and many prayed that the gods would notice his arrogance. Their prayers reached Nemesis, goddess of retribution. Determined that justice be done, she prepared a punishment suited to his pride. One warm afternoon, Narcissus discovered a secluded pool hidden deep within a quiet grove. The water was perfectly still, untouched by wind or falling leaves. Kneeling to drink, he glanced into its surface and saw an extraordinarily beautiful face gazing back at him. He did not recognize his own reflection. Captivated, Narcissus remained beside the water. Whenever he smiled, the image smiled in return. Whenever he reached toward it, the figure vanished beneath ripples and returned only when the water grew calm again. Unable to leave, he sat beside the pool day after day, longing for the mysterious beauty before him. As time passed, his strength faded. Still, he gazed into the water, unable to turn away. At last, he died beside the pool he could never abandon. When others later searched for him, they found no trace of his body. In its place grew a delicate flower with white petals and a golden center. bending gently toward the water's edge. From that day forward, the flower carried the name Narcissus. Story 3: The Twin Spirits and the Mirror. Among the Yoruba people, twins were regarded as children touched by spiritual power. It was said that twins shared a bond deeper than ordinary kinship, for their souls walked closely together from birth. Villages celebrated the arrival of twins with songs, blessings, and offerings, believing they carried a special connection to the unseen world. In one village, there lived twin brothers who were inseparable. They worked together in the fields, hunted together in the forest, and sat together beside the evening fires. Though their faces were nearly identical, their personalities differed. One brother was thoughtful and patient, while the other was bold and quick to act. Yet the people often spoke of them as though they were a single spirit living in two bodies. As the years passed, misfortune struck the village. During a season of illness, one of the brothers fell sick and died. Great mourning spread among the family. His surviving twin grieved deeply, for it seemed as though part of his own heart had been taken away. Though surrounded by friends and relatives, he felt alone wherever he went. The elders understood the sacred nature of the bond between twins. They consulted priests and diviners, seeking guidance from the spirits. After many ceremonies, they instructed a skilled carver to create a wooden figure in the likeness of the departed brother. Carefully, the craftsman shaped the face, the posture, and the features so that the spirit of the lost twin might recognize it. When the carving was complete, the surviving brother received it with reverence. The figure was dressed, washed, and cared for as though it were still living. Each morning he greeted it. At meals, he placed food before it. During celebrations, he carried it with him so that his brother's presence could remain among the family. Over time, the sorrow that had weighed upon him began to soften. Though the twin was gone from the world of the living, the bond between them endured. The carved images became a reflection of memory, reminding him that death could separate bodies but not erase the ties of kinship and spirit. The villagers came to see the figure not as simple carving, but as a bridge between worlds. Through it, the memory of the departed twin remained visible. Generations later, families continued the practice, honoring lost twins through carefully carved figures that reflected both remembrance and enduring connection. Story 4: The Mirror of the Rusaka. Long ago, in a village bordered by dark forests and silver rivers, people spoke cautiously about mirrors after sunset. It was said that mirrors were not merely glass, but doorways through which unseen spirits watched the living world. Among the spirits most often feared were the Rusaki, beautiful maidens who dwelled in rivers, lakes, and marshes. By daylight, they were rarely seen, but on moonlit nights, their reflections sometimes appeared where nobody stood. An old tale tells of a young woman who received a polished silver mirror from a traveling merchant. Each evening, she admired her reflection. Yet as the weeks passed, she began noticing small differences. The woman in the mirror seemed slower to mimic her movements. Sometimes it appeared to smile before she did. At first, she believed she was tired. Then one midsummer night, during the season when spirits were thought to walk nearest to the world of mortals, she saw another face standing behind her reflection. No one stood in the room. The face belonged to a pale maiden crowned with river reeds. Terrified, the young woman covered the mirror and sought the village wise woman. The elder listened carefully and explained that Rusaka had become fascinated with her. The spirit was attempting to lure her attention deeper into the mirror world. The wise woman instructed her to uncover the mirror only at dawn and to place rowan branches around its frame. For several days, the spirit appeared again, watching silently from behind the glass. Each morning, its image grew fainter. Finally, on the seventh sunrise, the young woman looked once more. The strange maiden stood within the mirror's depths beside a moonlit river. She raised a hand in farewell before vanishing like mist. From that day forward, villagers remembered the warning. Mirrors were covered during storms, after deaths, and during certain holy nights, for it was believed that reflections could attract wandering spirits or reveal things best left unseen. And so the old people taught that a mirror was never merely a mirror. It was a threshold, a place where the worlds of water, memory, and spirit sometimes touched. Daily Thread for June 17th, The Mirror. Across many traditions, a mirror was never regarded as an ordinary object. It reflected a face, yet people often believed it could reveal more than appearance. Mirrors appeared in stories as thresholds between worlds, places where spirits lingered, truths surfaced, and hidden realities became visible for a fleeting moment. Some cultures covered mirrors during times of mourning, others used them in rituals of divination, hoping to glimpse what lay beyond the ordinary limits of sight. Whether feared, respected, or revered, mirrors carried a common lesson. What is seen on the surface is rarely the whole story. The tales shared today remind us that reflections can be both revealing and unsettling. Amaterasu's mirror revealed divine light hidden by grief. Narcissus became trapped by a reflection he failed to understand. The twin spirits showed how reflections can reveal connection rather than separation. And in Slavic tradition, mirrors stood at a boundary between the human world and the realm of spirits, where what appeared familiar could conceal something far deeper. Perhaps this is why mirrors appear so often in folklore. They invite us to pause between what is known and unknown, between appearance and reality, between the world we inhabit and the mysteries that surround it. A reflection may show a face, but the story suggests it also reveals a question. What lies beyond the image we see? And are we willing to look long enough to discover it?